It's 12 minutes past 8. Well, you might remember, of course, the Skyhawks. They were decommissioned just over a decade ago, and they were mothballed for a while, although they were kept in some kind of serviceable condition because they were hoping that they were going to be sold, perhaps to some overseas buyers. But, yeah, we got pretty close to it a few times, but it never actually happened. So now the government's decided, well, we'll gift some of them around the country, and we'll sell a few as well. For scrap, but also for museum pieces as well. One such museum is MOTAT in Auckland City, and it's managed to get a hold of one, and it was delivered last night. It's going to be put together this weekend in front of the public. This is pretty exciting stuff if you're into this kind of, this kind of geeky sort of aircraft business. Jeremy Hubbard is the museum director, and he joins us this morning. Morning, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Excuse me, I saw the plane last night, and it looks fantastic.
Oh, I bet it does. So, but it's in pieces, is that right?
Yes, excuse me, it's been driven up from the South Island over the last couple of days, so it's in pieces, and the RNZAF technicians and experts will start reassembling it over the next couple of days.
Now, were you guys gifted the Skyhawk, or did you have to come up with some cash?
No, it's a loan. It's a loan from the Air Force Museum. And yes, we have contributed to the cost, but by no means have we covered all of the cost of bringing this plane up and the cost of the technicians reassembling it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's quite exciting, of course, to get a Skyhawk like this, but is it tinged with some sadness as well that it's not flying?
Well, that is one of the features of museums. MOTAT's rather unusual. We're an operating museum, and we actually do have a plane that flies. I think in the case of the Skyhawks, these are very advanced pieces of equipment, so it's probably better if they're not in the hands of the experts, that we don't let them outside.
But it's funny to think of it as a museum piece, isn't it? Because it wasn't that long ago that it was flying.
Look, I think that's quite right, but that's also probably a sign that museums, need to be relevant, and these are planes that have only just recently left the skies, and I think you mentioned some have been sold. So it's great that we're really up with items that aren't just old, if you like, that even everyone today can relate to.
Tell us about the history of this particular Skyhawk.
This is a really interesting Skyhawk. It's the only Skyhawk in New Zealand to have ever fired a shot in anger. Excuse me. So what it did was back in 1976, it shot 20mm cannon rounds over the bows of an illegal Taiwanese fishing boat that was plundering off the west coast of the South Island.
Huh, wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty good. And it was a very clear message internationally that New Zealand was serious about, maintaining its borders.
Yeah, indeed. It must have been pretty exciting for the pilot at the time.
I don't know who it was, but I'm sure that it was very memorable.
So how long was this aircraft in service?
Look, I don't know I haven't seen the provenance of this particular aircraft in detail, so I'm not going to guess at a number for you.
But we would have taken delivery of it, in the 60s?
Look, again, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound vague, but I'd rather not mislead. We'll have all that out on display over the next couple of weeks as that information comes up.
Yeah. Now, it has been mothballed. Do you know if this one was kept? Because I know that there were one or two that were kept serviceable after they were decommissioned, just for the purposes of sale. You probably don't know if this was one of them, but eventually they were all wrapped up in plastic, weren't they?
Yes, they were. My understanding is even though they were mothballed, as you call it, all of these have been kept very close to being ready.
Huh.
So I don't think any of them were, if you like, decommissioned. And even the one as it's being reassembled that we're taking care of, that's very close to being operational. So they've never let them deteriorate or anything like that.
What is it missing anything at all? Have they stripped it of anything?
It's an as it was condition, so it's an original condition.
Wow.
A decision's been made with regard to the engine for the aeroplane, and what we're going to do is there will be an engine that's on display, so there won't be one in the aircraft itself, and often you can't see them when they're in there. So
right.
There'll be an engine. It hasn't arrived yet, but there'll be an engine on display separately, so everyone can see as much as we can.
Okay. And any idea, what's happening with the rest of them?
A number have been loaned to other museums around New Zealand, and as you mentioned earlier, some have been sold, though I'm not aware of the details of that.
Because wouldn't it be amazing if Warbirds was able to, get one operational, have enough spare parts, and have enough cash just to keep one operational for the odd display? Wouldn't that
Look,
be fantastic?
I think that would be amazing. But one of the things to remember, again, these are aircraft that have only recently come out of service, and a lot of technology in them is still current. And I think that's been one of the issues around, actually letting these things go out for display. So they are not as if they're out of date by any means.
Yeah. Are you expecting, because the pilots of these aircraft, are scattered, I suppose, all around the world, in various roles, whether they be in military or in civilian aircraft. Are you expecting, though, to have any, previous pilot visitors of this on show?
We're not bringing people out for this, but we know with our aviation collection, we get a lot of aviation people they're either enthusiasts or they have worked in that area, and they're all around.
Well, of course, it's not just the pilots that have an affinity with this aircraft; it's the mechanics that work on them.
That's right. Now, MOTAT's very fortunate. We've got almost 300 volunteers, and within that group, we have a very active aviation section. And these people are actually old ex-engineers or ex-pilots or ex-aircrew. So, these people, there seems to be a passion for them and a lifelong one.
So will this be on display in that brand new aircraft, what do you call it? It's not a shelter, what is it? It's a
aviation display hall. Yes, it will.
The hangar, that's what I was looking for. The hangar, is that at the Miola Road side of things?
Well, we built a big extension, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, and it's probably more than a hangar. Excuse me. It's we've just won some architectural awards, so we're very proud of what we've achieved. But yes, it'll be in the back of that building, and they'll start at 10 o'clock this morning. And one of the nice things with the Air Force guys, they've said, look, it was their suggestion that we actually let the public come along and talk to them and watch this plane being reconstructed. So it's really this is a really unique event.
And how long have you guys got it for?
As long as we can, really. It's, as with a loan, there are always going to be termination clauses, but we would see no reason to send this plane back. It's an important part of New Zealand's history, and that's the job that we're in, telling and sharing that history.
And how close will the public be able to get to it?
Oh, right up close. No. No, we'll have barriers around it, just really from a safety point of view.
Yeah.
No, that people won't be, they'll be within talking distance of the mechanics.
So
this is right up close.
The opportunity to have a look inside the cockpit would be amazing.
Yes, it would. And I haven't had that opportunity yet. But if we want people to get as close as they can. I can't promise that they can look in the cockpit over the next few days because obviously the reconstruction. These are quite heavy aircraft. So that's the priority. But I think they'll enjoy what they can see.
Wow, very, very cool. Well, that's happening at MOTAT over the weekend, of course, and as you say, into the future. You'll be able to see the Skyhawk on display. Jeremy Hubbard, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Glenn, thank you very much. I really appreciated the call. Thank you.
Cheers. Time now here on Kiwi 20.